Pal Jizzo here. This is my last video of 2023, and I want to thank everybody for subscribing to the channel. There's been an explosion in subscribers lately, which is pretty badass. And I'm glad everyone's enjoying the channel and checking it out. I encourage you guys to listen to all the music. I have all my solo records. I have all my love-hate records on this channel. You know, check them out. If you're not familiar with the love-hate music or my solo music, check them out because it's pretty badass stuff. So let's go. Today's lesson for the working musician, or for any person really, but especially for that working musician, you have to learn the power of saying no, or no, as Nancy Reagan used to say. You know, there's a lot of power in not immediately just going along with what people have in mind for you or what they want to pay you. You have to learn the power of saying no. No, I don't want to do that gig for that amount of money. No, I think we shouldn't do that tour. No, I don't like this mix that you mixed for me. I think we should remix it. Now, saying no can be unpopular, actually. Your other band guys might not dig it. You know, you're a stick in the mud. You're the onion in the ointment. Or let's face it, you're just a pain in the ass. Come on, dude. Just sign this contract. We've all signed it. Just do it. It's just a 3-year management deal. I mean, what could go wrong? What could go wrong indeed? You know, I've let things slide in my musical career, and I've regretted not sticking up for myself. I let the record company pick the singles off my record, and I should have fought more when I knew that they were making a bad decision. Record companies, managers, agents, they are not omniscient. They are not all-knowing, and they make mistakes. When your record is doing well, the record company takes all the credit. And when your record is not doing well, guess what? It's your fault. Like a pebble thrown into a clear blue lake. The ripples can go on forever. They can go on for years. Decisions done in haste, you repent at leisure, saith the wise man. And the artist gets f***ed. So to survive in this business, you have to learn the power of saying no. Before we delve into this Sargasso Sea that is the music business, maybe it would be easier to explore something that is pretty universal. Let's explore the power of saying no when you are setting out to get your first tattoo. See, today everyone has tattoos, but back in the 80s, tattoos were a new thing. I remember seeing those old Hit Parader magazines where Rat would take Sharpies and pretend to throw some tribal lines on their arms. Remember that shit? Then Guns N' Roses exploded in 1988, and all of a sudden, Sharpies became slightly uncool. Now, when Guns N' Roses got big, it seemed everyone in Hollywood had to go to Sunset Strip Tattoo to get the obligatory Sunset Strip tattoos. The full sleeves, the leaves, the fucking anchors. It became a rite of passage for any up-and-coming wannabe rock and roller, and there was some serious peer pressure at the time to get fully tatted up. You know, and I resisted for a while. I don't know. I guess because I saw what was happening around me and I didn't want to just get what everyone else was getting. Maybe this was my first experience in learning how to say no. You know, when are you going to get tatted, dude? When are you going to get tatted? What are you waiting for, dude? I'm telling you, the pressure was totally real. If you didn't have tattoos in Hollywood, you just weren't cool enough. And in Hollywood, it was all about being cool. So I waited. I looked through books. I bought art books. I searched for designs. I was trying to find something that the rest of the world just didn't have. And when I did find something I liked, that one right there, I took it to a tattoo place and I had one of their guys draw it up. And finally, the day came, my first tattoo. I was totally excited. I went to the tattoo place. The guy pulled out the piece of paper, his design, and he showed it to me. And it sucked. It fucking sucked. I couldn't believe it. It literally looked like a 4-year-old had drawn my Chinese dragon with a crayon. It was totally awful. And I was getting pressured. The guy was waiting, let's go. Let's go. I couldn't tell him he was a shitty artist because he was bigger than me. I just said I wasn't ready. I played the pussy card. He smirked and the rest of the place smirked. I know they thought I was a wuss, but I didn't care. This was an example of me using the power to say no. Don't get pressured to do something that you know is totally wrong. It matters, man. Tattoos are really forever. Believe me, you don't want to wake up every morning and look in the mirror and see a fucking Tweety bird on your arm. A Tweety bird! Now, when someone is mixing your record, you also can't be afraid to say no. I don't like this mix. It's not right. I need you to fix it. You need to remix it. Or maybe I need to go somewhere else to mix it. I know it's a total hassle. It might cost you more money. Maybe this guy's giving you a deal. But trust me, letting a bad mix go is as painful as a bad tattoo. Those mixes last forever. Case in point, 20 years ago, I did one of those compilation records with Cleopatra Records. You know what I mean? Latest and greatest. Wow, what a contradiction in terms that is. I wasn't alone. All of us 80s guys made those compilation records on Cleopatra. Cleopatra was doling out the money, so we just went and re-recorded all our hits, and we all said yes, and we did it. Now, this was before MP3s. This was before downloading, before streaming. The internet was just starting for rock bands. I mean, it was sort of a big thing if your band even had a website. So what I'm saying is that I didn't realize that these records would last forever. I was just thinking about the payday. If I knew then what I knew now, right? What's worse is that I got talked into changing some of the songs. Somebody thought it was a good idea to slow down Spinning Wheel. It's terrible. It sounds like a dirge. It was the wrong idea. There were other changes too, none of them good. Subpar vocals by yours truly, subpar performances, subpar mixes, the whole thing fast-fooded and finished in a few days. It was not happening. But I wasn't thinking about the future at the time. I was just thinking this dumb record was a one-off. But no! Who knew that Cleopatra Records would take those songs and those recordings that we did and put them out and repackage them over and over and over for 2 decades. Those recordings have never gone away. Just like those horrible Cleopatra tribute records that we all did. Take the money and run, Jizzo. You can see them on Amazon or eBay. They're fucking terrible. So the moral of the story is every time you push record, that shit lasts forever. So try to make sure it's as good as it can be. All right, someone offers you a gig, and when the subject of money comes up, it turns out that it's way less than what you expected. So you have to step back and you have to maybe say no. If it's not what you think you're worth, then you have to say no. You have to set a price for yourself. Something that you're comfortable with and what you think is fair, and stick to it, man. If you take the gig for $100, then $100 will be your price. And then that's what other people are gonna wanna pay you. After that, they won't wanna renegotiate with you if you decide all of a sudden that you want more money. You're gonna be the $100 guy. So if someone offers you a gig and the money is too low, step back and have the power to say no. This also comes into play if you're asked to play on someone's record. If you're a singer or a bass player, whatever, if you get asked to play on someone's record, you have to figure it out. You have to set a price for your services and stick to it. Get the price for what you're worth, man. Either a price per song or per hour or per the whole record. This rule is flexible, of course. Sometimes an opportunity comes up where you compromise a little bit less pay because you think the exposure is going to be worth it, or if you think it's going to lead to bigger and better things. So everything isn't etched in stone. There are exceptions. Okay, so this one is a big one. When you play a show, you or your agent will negotiate a fee for the gig. Let's say it's $3,000. Occasionally, the venue or the promoter will contact you and ask you for a reduction. Bad ticket sales usually. Instead of $3,000, he wants to pay you $2,000 or less. Or maybe he wants to cut your rooms from 4 rooms to 2 rooms. Now, this is a tough situation for a band to be in, especially if you are touring in another country like Europe or the UK. If you refuse to take less money, the venue might just cancel your gig outright. Now you're out the whole $3,000. And not only that, you have to buy your own hotels that night, another couple of $100. What makes this worse is that promoters know you're 3,000 miles from home, and they sort of have you over a barrel. They know you probably can't afford the $3,000 hit. You've got to pay for gas, the van, band salaries. They know this, and unscrupulous promoters will try and squeeze out more money for themselves by fucking you. So what do you do? What do you do? Saying no in this case might fuck your tour up completely. But if you just roll over, he'll know he can get away with it, and he'll f*** the next American band that comes over. This shit happens all the time, I'm telling you. So you got to fight it. You got to stick up for yourself. You have to look the guy in the eye. Don't flip out. Don't throw a tantrum. Talk to the man to man, and see if you can both work out something you're both happy with. At least you have to try. If you can't, you can't. I've dealt with douchebag promoters before, and I've said "F you" a couple of times. I've just eaten it and paid for the hotels myself on principle. I just walked away. I guess it's a respect thing. Sometimes these people are such fucking douchebags that as a man, you just have to cancel. So I just said no, no, with extreme prejudice. I think everybody in the music business has at one time or another had to sign a really bad contract. Quiet Riot signed one, and they admit that they signed it. But you know what? If they hadn't signed that deal with Pasha Records, they might not have ever made it at all. #1 record, millions of records sold. We, Love Hate, we signed a 3-year management contract with 2 guys that weren't even managers. And when we got signed to Sony Records, that contract came back and bit us in the ass. In the end, that contract cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if we hadn't have gotten signed, that contract would have been worth nothing. Do you understand? They call it the price of doing business. So I can't tell young, naive bands not to sign a fucked up contract, because that's exactly what I did. In fact, I signed more than one, actually. If I knew then what I know now, I probably would have done the same thing. Sometimes in a band's life, you need infusions of cash to keep the lights on and the morale going and the gigs flowing. Bands break up very easily. Ours almost did. So with that in mind, ask yourself, do you really need to sign this management deal? In other words, do you really need a manager? Most bands don't. Most bands don't need a manager. They can just manage themselves. Honestly, it's not very hard. Agents take 10% of your gig. A manager can take 15%. Now that's 25% off the top of your gross earnings. That's a quarter. Ask yourself, is a manager going to justify that 15%? Is your money overall going to go up? Or are you just paying for some guy to go on the internet and handle your social media accounts because you're too lazy to do it? The internet is an amazing tool, and if you hustle, you can do almost anything and everything yourself without some manager guy taking 15% of your money. So think about it. Now, sometimes in business or in life, you can't say no. Sometimes you have to go along to get along. And all these life lessons that I'm throwing at you, They're not etched in stone. Being an artist is a flexible, malleable thing. Sometimes you have to bend in the wind in order to survive. Sometimes you just have to make up the rules as you go. But setting a price for your services and sticking to it, that's different, man. That's real business. But remember, you also have to be realistic. Don't ask for stupid money. If you're asking for $2,000 a show and you're worth a tenth of that, then more fool you. There are lots of guys out there guilty of this, by the way. Totally delusional, cuckoo. But trust me, they never really get anywhere. Facebook likes and Facebook clicks, it's not real. So again, your talent is worth something. It's worth something. It's not worth nothing. Spotify pays you 0.0037 cents for your song. That's 3,000th of a cent. That means your song has to be played 1,000 times to make a fucking penny. Think about that. That's not only less than nothing, that's fucking insulting. Bands only make money these days playing live shows and selling their merch. That's it. So learn the art of hustling. Get on the phone or the computer and learn how to market yourself and place a value on what you do, because what you do is worth something. Use it or lose it. It's your old pal Jizzo, rockin' and rollin', and we'll see you in 2024.